This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good looking friends. So, today's video is going to be a little more on the shorter side. It's definitely a lighter video, but also provoking the question of why was this allowed to happen? We can speculate till the cows come home as to why the royal family allowed this fraud to take place on a global stage. There's absolutely no way that the royal family didn't know about this deceit to some degree. And what's disappointing are the lengths that they took to cover this up as best as they could, from whether it be some type of restriction in the media in the UK, as well as sealing Archie's birth certificate, not following the regular traditional protocol for these royal births, as well as the staff being the ones to also police social media to pull down anything that talked about this so-called pregnancy. Looking back at some of these engagements that Meghan did while she was pregnant, like this particular engagement at the National Theater when she became patron, you know, like it's so obvious that this is not right. This is not what it's supposed to be. And looking back on this window of time, it makes me angry to know that people were not allowed to question this and saying, wait a minute, this is not right. People were not allowed to express their opinion on what was being put out into the public domain pertaining to these engagements and what Meghan was doing. And I find that disheartening that this was supported by the palace, because at the time she was working with them and they were the ones who were doing everything they possibly could to get posts taken down for an institution that values democracy, that wasn't very democratic to be censoring people. The institution on several occasions chose to lie and protect Meghan. Then what's the purpose of people pledging their loyalty to the king if the king can't even respect its own subjects? Valid questions were being asked of the palace, and they were all ignored. Why is it that Archie's birth certificate is the only royal birth certificate that is sealed? With everything that this couple have been involved with, especially the censorship industrial complex and coming over here in 2020 to support and help the Biden regime, part of me feels like this pregnancy was all part of the plan as a big disinformation campaign. You might say, no, the royal family would not have any involvement with it. I don't know anymore, folks, because when you look at why Harry and Meghan are doing this, it all supports this Agenda 2030, the UN, the World Economic Forum, and all those damn sustainable development goals that have made life a lot worse for the people on this planet as a result of these globalists wanting to redistribute our wealth. And don't think that the royal family, especially the king, is not on board and in lockstep with this agenda. I think by now people know that the one thing that is keeping this one world government from happening is free speech. So, don't kid yourself and say that, nah, the king has no say in any of this. He has 100% and is on board with what his son is doing, all in the name of preserving democracy. Why do you think Meghan was allowed to get away with this? Can somebody tell me why there's a nipple that pops out of Meghan's belly and then disappears right here? But I digress, getting back to this to show you that the institution is 100% on board with this Agenda 2030 and one world government. Let's go back to 2019 to Meghan's engagement at the University of London. Keep in mind, this was literally the day after Meghan was at the National Theater. Honestly, folks, we should have been free to be able to criticize this and challenge it when this came out back then. But so many people not only were harassed and threatened, but also suppressed in the sense of losing their accounts as well as posts getting taken down. Regardless if the queen knew what was going on or not, the palace still holds responsibility for being behind censoring people. And even if you can't fathom the institution doing something like this, keep in mind that Meghan at the time was a full-time employee of this institution. So yeah, they would be held accountable because she was representing the brand at that time. But anyhow, getting back to this, Meghan was visiting the University of London because she was named at the time new patron for the Association of the Commonwealth Universities. So the point of this engagement was to talk to academics as well as students from the Commonwealth who had the opportunity to go to this university and have them share their stories on how access to university changed their lives. So Meghan arrives and she meets with a woman from the university who is responsible for these Commonwealth scholarships on behalf of the Queen. She's also responsible for the Commonwealth program at this University of London. So, all serving the crown. At the time, Meghan was a working senior member of the royal family and she was out representing Her Majesty the Queen. So, as we understand this, know that it's the crown that approves and is supportive of the principles and program that is at this university. And the reason why I say that is because of what I said earlier before of the institution supporting this Agenda 2030. Listen to this woman's welcome speech and you'll understand why.
500 universities in 53 countries. We are also, of course, welcoming Her Royal Highness to the Commonwealth family, a unique network of countries and people that spans the globe and which promotes development, democracy and peace. A university's fundamental mission is to educate its students to become global citizens and create new knowledge to solve the greatest challenges of our time.
Whenever you hear global citizen, they're talking about one world government, meaning open borders, we're all the same, equity, equity, equity.
Universities help build stronger societies. They push the boundaries of progress and discovery, from life-saving vaccines to the best innovations in teaching and learning.
Allow me to interject and ask this question of you guys. Back in 2019, were vaccines a topic of conversation that people were having? When I think back to that time before the pandemic, I don't recall it being such a hot topic. Perhaps maybe for some of the countries in the Commonwealth, I don't know. But let me know your thoughts below. Keep in mind, one of the principles of this Agenda 2030 is this digital ID and getting everybody on these vaccine passports to jack them up with all this poison. So here we are having the indoctrination in the universities talking about this stuff.
But they also teach us human values of critical thinking, of independence of mind and spirit. We believe that universities are key to meeting every one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, from ending poverty to protecting our planet, and we are committed to who study and work within them. We help to advance knowledge, promote understanding, and improve lives.
And there Meghan is on behalf of the Queen supporting this royal patronage. Think about how many other royal patronages support these 17 Sustainable Development Goals. I think there's a lot of them. So, when you look at this agenda, you can't say that the royal family is not backing and in support of what this is all about, especially with this censorship. The king doesn't have to come out and openly say it. They support this agenda. And what's getting in the way of this agenda is freedom of speech and controlling the information. You can bet that the king is supportive of that. And don't fool yourself either. William is definitely on board with that as well. He may not openly say, oh, yeah, we need to shut everybody up, but he does want to save the planet and he does believe in these sustainable development goals. So while his place might not be from a bad place like Meghan and Harry, he does see probably the need to remove some of the barriers of noise and distraction to achieve that goal. But understand that our collective is very different to his collective and his globalist friends collective.
And one key aspect of our work at the ACU is delivering outstanding educational opportunities. 2019 is the 60th anniversary of our Commonwealth Scholarships. Among these are the newly named Queen Elizabeth Commonwealth Scholarships, a global scheme supported by Commonwealth governments, and we hope more will join to contribute to this invaluable programme.
She mentions global scheme. Yeah, that's exactly what this is.
Building connections between nations and empowering young people to make positive change happen, and contributing directly to Sustainable Development Goal 4B. So today we've brought together ACU staff for Your Royal Highness to meet, and ACU scholars from across the world who will talk about the inspiring work they do in so many life-changing fields.
All these people supporting this agenda speak from the same script. Like I could honestly hear Harry's voice reciting this speech in my head. It's like the same words: positivity, community, life-changing. inspiring, purpose-driven work. I mean, how many times have these two have said that? But anyway, now you understand why I feel like this deceit that we're seeing. I mean, look at this. How can anyone honestly say that this is real? I'm sure many people had been looking at Meghan and thinking the same thing. I mean, seriously, looking at this, that doesn't look real to me. That doesn't look natural. And I will bet that so many back in 2019 said the same exact thing, but had been shut down with the support of the institution. And this is what I don't like. This event was held at the end of January. So that would have made Meghan around 6 months. I don't know. That sure looks a lot bigger than 6 months, in my opinion. I'd like to pose another question to my viewers. How do you think the monarchy is going to handle this if this scandal breaks open? Do you think they'll stay silent? Do you think that they will throw Meghan under the bus? What do you think is going to happen here? Or do you think it's just going to remain like this as an open secret that people will continue to keep talking about for years on end? I don't know how they'll handle this, but I do think that if that day ever comes, I think we'll all be so over it and be like, yeah, we already know. It's not going to really be any type of shocker. So I don't know what they're waiting for. The longer they allow this to go on, the worse it looks for them. Just rip that band aid off. Now, finally, for the last part of this video, I want to show you a conversation that I never paid attention to before until today. And it raised all kinds of alarm bells off in my head, hence the reason why I'm sharing it. So, Meghan is talking to a group of women, and in this group, of course, they are people from the Commonwealth, but there is one woman who is actually from the United States. Now, remember, as I said earlier in this video, that this visit was to meet with students from the Commonwealth who were attending this university. So the question is, why was there an American in this group? But even more strange to me was what Meghan and this woman were talking about. Take a listen.
So I am American Indian in the United States. This is my children's book. So I research how children's literature is used as propaganda. Yes, it is a gift for you. It's for your baby. And hopefully prevent some smoking. And so what this book does is it takes specific cultural issues that occur on American Indian reservations and tackles them. And so it's distributed by the federal government of the United States to every American Indian school in the United States to prevent smoking. But it's now being turned into children's researching in areas where there's terrorist groups as well as other extremist ideas, how propaganda can be used as a tool by those groups and how other organizations can counter those radicalized via children's
So how did you get those
through the Department of the Interior and the Bureau of Indian I'm very lucky and they were very lucky draw. I read the story to them and they went to Molly and what they thought of the occurring on each page and then we had a graphic designer turn it into what it is. Yes. And so now for each book I go to a different reservation and then we're doing the same thing for the TV series. The kids are drawing what happened. And so they're owning the process and also it's not anybody putting an identity on what she should like.
Look, I don't mean to sound conspiratorial, but here is this woman from the United States who technically shouldn't be at this event because she's not from the Commonwealth. But here she is giving Meghan this book and telling her that it's her children's book and explaining that she is a researcher on children's literature and propaganda in our children's literature and what is being distributed in our schools. And then she goes into talking about how this type of propaganda could radicalize these kids. And, as we're looking at Meghan's behavior recently and knowing that she is the queen of propaganda, it almost begs the question of, is this woman really a researcher or was she there to give Meghan this book that had other information in it? Because, as I've said before, I truly believe that this woman is connected and doing some dirty work for the deep state here. So, here they are standing there talking about this, and the kids, like, what a coincidence, right? Meghan wrote a book. I mean, we look at that book and it's crap, but who knows if there is a bunch of propaganda in there. We do know that Meghan was trying to pawn the bench off to every school on the West Coast, right? That book made absolutely no sense, just like everything else that Meghan and Harry have done has made absolutely no sense. Anyway. Now, before I wrap this up, I just want to point out something that I noticed here, and I'm going to go ahead and play this clip again for you. But when Meghan asks, how did you make this happen? The woman begins to tell her that she got the Department of the Interior and some bureau. I don't know if it's DHS or if the FBI. But in any case, Meghan looks shocked and was like, she says something almost as if she understands how difficult it is within these government agencies to do something like this, which then makes me believe that, yeah, she has more ties to this government than we fully understand. And it's the reason why she is getting away with what she's doing right now, because this is exactly what she's supposed to be doing right now. But I'll let you guys decide.
So I am American Indian in the United States. This is my children's book. So I research how children's literature is used as propaganda. Yeah, it is a gift for you. It's for your baby. And hopefully prevent some smoking. And so what this book does is it takes specific cultural issues that occur on American Indian reservations and tackles them. And so it's distributed by the federal government of the United States to every American Indian school in the United States to prevent smoking, but it's now being turned into children's researching in areas where there's terrorist groups as well as other extremist ideas, how propaganda can be used as a tool by those groups and how other organizations can counter those radical ideas via children's
So how did you get those into our community?
through the Department of the Interior and the Bureau of Indian Education. I'm very lucky, and it was very lucky draw. I read the story to them, and they went to Ollie, and what they thought of you occurring on each page, and then we had a graphic designer turn it into what it is. Yes. And so now for each book, I go to a different reservation, and then we're doing the same thing for the TV series. The kids are drawing what happened. And so then they're owning the process, and also it's on anybody putting an identity on what she shows, like
Allow me to share some of my final thoughts here on this. I think we're at the point right now where we have witnessed so many things that just didn't make any kind of sense, and behavior that you wouldn't expect or normally wouldn't expect of the parties involved, such as the royal family. Being that they are one of the most, if not the most powerful family in the world, you mean to tell me that they were afraid of this D-list actress and didn't want to rock the boat, hence the reason why they never said anything? There's more to this, folks. We can't sit and be naive and believe everything that the media is telling us. They have proved themselves time and time again to be liars, as well as supporting the Harkles and their garbage. That in itself should tell you not to trust what they're showing us. And I think now we really do need to get our senses back and trust what we see with our own eyes and call it out for what it is. The more that I look at this and the various parties that are involved from the UK, it does appear to me that in 2020, Harry did come over here with the blessing of the UK government and the Crown. Harry had the backing of his family, and what we have been told, definitely not the truth. But what do you guys think? Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Such a fraud.